and gentlemen, good afternoon to our very important debate on prosperity for everyone that we have here over the next half an hour. I hope it will be a very interesting and engaging debate. I'm going to introduce our three panelists that we have here to come up and join me on the stage, starting with Assunção Cristas, who's president of Portuguese CDS, the People's Party. She's a lawyer, a conservative politician, and also a professor. From 2011 to 2015, she served as Minister for Agriculture, Sea, Environment, Territorial Planning in the government led by our own Pedro Pascas Coelho. A big round of applause, please, for Assunção, who'll come up and join us. Secondly, we have Benoît Lucien. He's president of CDH, Centre Démocrate Humaniste in Belgium, of course, a francophone politician. He's been president of our member party since the 1st of September 2011, and he served as Wallonian Minister for Agriculture, Rurality, Nature, Forest and Heritage. So can we please also welcome Benoît up onto the stage here with us also. And finally, we have joining us Kyriakos Mitsotakis, a Greek politician, of course. He's been president of Democratia and leader of the opposition since January 2016. He has also served as a minister, in this case of administrative reform and e-governance from 2011 to 2015. And he's been a member of the Hellenic, the Greek Parliament, for Athens parliamentary constituency since 2004. So Kyriakos, will you also please join us on the stage here this afternoon? Cool. So, we're going to start just with a few minutes from each of our three excellent panelists to give a little sense of where they see things going. It's, I think, proper order that we start with Assunção, please.
Thank you, Dan. Dear colleagues, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I would start by saying that in the old times, changes used to take place locally and over generations, but right now they happen globally. And we can see those changes actually in our lifetime. So it's not incremental, it's exponential. And if I look at my personal experience, if I look at my family, my first daughter was born in June 2001, the year Wikipedia was launched. And in September, the world changed forever. Only 50 years ago, that's when my second child was born, we still didn't have the iPhone, nor the Facebook, and several countries were voting their way into the EU. My third child was born in 2005, when Google Maps was launched, and the first ever YouTube video was uploaded. And my youngest daughter was born 5 years ago, being the first ever Portuguese minister's child to be born with a mother in office. At that time, we had the Troika in Portugal, and the euro crisis was the main European problem. And look at us now. History teaches us that in industrial change or revolution, there are more jobs created than those that are lost, and that's good, that's fine. But recent studies also stress that our transition will exceed or scale shifts ever known. Plus, most predict net gain of jobs, but most likely in different places. That might be cities, countries, or even continents. So, how can we anticipate the response to create and take value from the digital era opportunities and at the same time guarantee that no one is left behind? And how can we take advantage of artificial intelligence, innovation and cutting-edge solutions and impede social disruption? In my view, in three ways, and I will be very short, Dana. First, by preparing society to a different perspective of education and work delivering. Reskilling and lifelong training are key words to build smart societies. We will go back to university and training many times. Freelancers and independent workers based on dynamic competences and knowledges, acquisition will no longer be an exception, but our main challenge is how to answer to social and protection rights for them. For example, paid maternity and paternity leave. Work will be more flexible, even for those who have a working contract, place and time to deliver work might be extra flexible in a positive way, in my view, but this positive approach must be assured as well. Second, by finding out and anticipating areas of job creation, and I will take that for a moment. And third, by anticipating a regulatory framework that also includes an ethical dimension. And that is particularly relevant, I would say, for our center-right family and personalistic political parties. I think we can boost growth. Yes, we can. We will have transition. Yes, we will have. Assuming this very clearly, the European center-right parties, as we are, must also ensure that no one is left behind, and ethics is at the core of our move. Thank you, Dana.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Assunção. And we'll pick up on some of that in the question and answer that we will have in a minute. Le prochain
The next speaker is the president of our party in Wallonia, the French-speaking part of Belgium.
Pardon?
And in Brussels as well, says the contributor. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I don't have any children, so I'll go a little bit faster in my introduction. I just wanted to say one thing. The European Union, we have seen it, well, there's prosperity for all doesn't go without saying for everybody. We have the crises in the last few years, financial, economic, social crises that haven't helped people believe that this prosperity can benefit all, and Europe can deliver on prosperity. And it's far away from the idea, well, peace and security, that was delivered, but this prosperity isn't doled out equally across Europe. The Commission has done a lot over the past few years, better securing our external borders. More needs to be done. A whole series of economic programs, but also a lot of questions that people ask themselves on a daily basis. Social harmonization, far from being a reality, creating social competition among the member states. We have to be able to converge together step by step so that this social coverage is a given, depending on each member state. Another thing, taxation, because prosperity also has to include taxation. Let us recognize this, and we need to do a lot of work on this at the EPP. Fiscal competition, which is a reality among the member states, is not only, well, citizens can't understand it, and not everybody is imbued with trust. Belgium does create some tax competition vis-à-vis France. We have a lot of French nationals coming to us, but then after that we complain that some of our citizens leave our country for tax reasons. So social and tax harmonization are very important so that everybody can have this renewed trust in Europe. But of course the industrial side of things is important, that strand with the new economic players. We need to become leaders at European level. Obviously the digital agenda is very important, where Europe has to lead by example, and no doubt we'll be returning that in the debate. And the fight against climate change, global warming, that might create jobs and prosperity for our SMEs, of course, there needs to be research and obviously training and exchanges among the member states are very important.
From Assunção and CDS and the great job they did in their time in government, and also what Benoit has said about where we uniquely stand as the political party that has the sense of this mix between fiscal responsibility and promoting growth. For me, I spent the weekend in Athens, and we have many examples across our continent of great political leadership, but we also have examples where people lost faith with the political system and voted for extremists. And I think it is worth mentioning the journey, the great journey under the leadership of Kyriakos Mitsotakis that we've seen in Democratia, and where we are showing that responsibility and responsible politics in a pro-European way can give back hope to our people. So a little bit of a special introduction, maybe because of the great food and everything I had in Athens over the weekend. But can I now introduce Kyriakos Mitsotakis to address us for a few minutes?
Well, thank you, Dara, for your kind introduction, and I'm glad you had a very pleasant weekend in Athens. First of all, let me point out that as we enter this electoral season, it is, I consider, important to point out that the creation of jobs, especially for our young people, should be the #1 priority for our political family. We talk a lot about identity politics, migration. We know something about it coming from Greece, but at the end of the day, it's jobs and the economy that determines the future of our political party, and the same needs to happen this time. I think it is also important to point out, it was mentioned previously, that Europe has done reasonably well under the leadership of the EPP. Over the past 4 years, the economy has grown in most countries. Lots of new jobs have been created. 240 million Europeans are employed. And overall, most countries have done well. Greece, unfortunately, remains an exception to this growth path, which indicates that as much as we want to talk about European-wide policies, domestic politics also matter a lot. And if you want to understand what happens when you elect populists to power, you just have to take a quick look at Greece to understand what a mess they make once they reach their end goal. The Greek economy has been virtually stagnant over the past 3 years at a time when Portugal grew at 10%. So we should not forget that domestic politics, liberal politics that focus on a reasonable reduction of taxes while respecting fiscal stability, simplifying the business environment, focusing on entrepreneurship, are still very, very important for all member states. But as important as domestic politics are, equally important are the politics that we can impose at the level of the European Union. Issues such as fair trade, the continuation of cohesion policies, the importance of the single market, the importance that we need to attribute at the European level on issues that are related to research and development and innovation, in my mind, are absolutely critical. So let's talk about the victories that we have achieved as we are all entering into campaign mode. Let's make the case against populists. Let's focus on solutions that can actually work and deliver real results for our citizens. If we do that, I'm absolutely convinced that we will remain by a significant margin the biggest political force in Europe.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Kyriakos. So, some of these specific issues, and a few brief questions to both of you. So, how do we adapt work if we really want to sort of achieve prosperity for everyone or as many people as possible to a more sustainable economy? You know, in other words, what jobs can such an economy seek to provide?
Right. Well, I think then that we have a huge challenge globally speaking and also Europeanly speaking, that is environment and climate change. And whatever we can do to build new jobs related to mitigation, adaptation of climate change, which requires a lot of research, a lot of joint efforts in this research, I think we are in the good path. I would say that these green jobs are still an important source of future jobs. Some of them we don't know them yet. We have to develop, we have to invent them, and that comes from science, research, and technology. And coming from an Atlantic country, I would add also the blue jobs, because the ocean is an enormous area of work, of development, of science, and I think that we have a lot in many different areas, and that is very, very broad. The possibilities are very broad in this area, but still we have a lot to find out and to create, and these jobs highly qualified, highly skilled, and I think are the future jobs in one way, and that's a good way because they protect us, they preserve us from the risks which are enormous, and right now in Portugal we feel them almost in a daily basis the risks of climate change also. But there's another point that I would like to stress. When we think about, I would say, the other enormous challenge for Europe, I would say that's demography. And of course we have a problem of this aging society, but that is also an opportunity. I think as a European family we should boost and help people to have more children, and they want, in Portugal they want to have them, but they feel they don't have the conditions to do that. But we also have to look at the elderly, and this is an area of job creation. Of course, technology, artificial intelligence and so on will help us, but for now there is nothing that can replace the human touch and the human look and the human voice in taking care of the elderly.
Yes, you certainly can't beat or replace the human touch. In my job as campaign director, when people talk about digital campaigns, I keep saying, don't forget the door-to-door, person-to-person contact. So, Kyriakos, I mean, we often hear that there's a kind of in comparison to America, we don't have the same level of entrepreneurship. You know, how can we encourage businesses and companies to come up with maybe more radical and newer business models? And how can we actually work across all our member states to boost more innovation in the continent?
Well, a few months ago I was in Israel, and they have this nice slogan, Startup Nation. It would be great if we could turn Europe into a true startup continent, but this requires a set of policies on various different fronts. It is striking to me that if you look at the top technology companies in the world, we don't have any European company in the top 20 tech companies, which tells us something about the ability of European companies to really scale up, in spite of the fact that they actually have access to a big single market. Entrepreneurship is about capital. Entrepreneurship is also about people willing to take risk. We need more of a risk-taking culture in Europe. We need to reward success, but we also need not to punish entrepreneurial failure with severity. But at the same time, we also need to focus a lot on education. I'm a big proponent of teaching entrepreneurship in our schools and introducing young people to the concept of risk-taking and setting up their own companies. I was at a fantastic school contest for virtual companies in Greece, and I was surprised by the quality and the thoughtfulness that was actually put into those projects by our young students, and these young students will be tomorrow's successful entrepreneurs. But of course, we also need to bridge the gap between research and applied innovation and the startup world, where I think we can do much more in harnessing our significant European research funds in those areas where Europe has a significant comparative advantage. You mentioned the area of environment, clean tech, sustainable food, creative industries. There are lots of industries where we as Europe have a natural comparative advantage. We shouldn't try to do everything extremely well, but focus on those sectors where we can really develop companies that can scale up very quickly and compete with US and Chinese giants.
Very good. I mean, we're seeing a theme here since our reference to the blue economy, as did Kyriakos. So, Lucien, le changement climatique, c'est une des plus grosses
climate change is one of the biggest challenges that the world is currently facing. How can we fight against climate change and also have a strong and robust and competitive economy? Well, just to answer on the climate, I think that what's important is education and training. That's been very well put from an early age, and also everything, all the manual occupations that need to be developed. And also we have occupations where there is a lack of people, more particularly in healthcare, the flanking of the elderly, etc. But it's first all about education and training where we must act. The second thing, to answer your défi climatique, il est d'abord formidable pour l'Europe. We have a significant climate challenge in Europe. We have to be a leader and transmit our values to the rest of the world. And the fight against global warming also provides job opportunities by placing all our powers together in R&D, in production, in industry, because we're lagging behind a little bit. When we see we have to use technologies from China to fight against climate change, well, we need a strong industrial project linked to energy, linked to the fight against global warming altogether. And I think that a coalition of states can provide solutions in terms of jobs and also social matters and to the young. And there we have the human touch you were talking about a little earlier on, but we need to provide answers and solutions to the young and to the member states if we work together on this industrial project and link it to the fight against climate change. It is a need for the planet, and it's also an answer we need to provide to the youth. We have job potential there, all the while protecting our borders in trade exchanges and in the reality of the fight against global warming, not to have rules and things affecting the environmental criteria in our free trade agreements. We're not in favor of complete unfettered deregulation. It has in favor of liberalization, but not uncontrolled. And we need to find solutions that are fine-tuned to our reality here in Europe. The COP agreement in Paris was a bit of hope, and we need to translate that, and we do it in our local areas. We're already doing it, but with an additional effort from Europe and a joining of forces of the member states, we should contribute more to our industrial project and our research and development.
In your beautiful country in Portugal, in Lisbon, the Web Summit. So
yes,
I suppose
I was there yesterday.
You were there yesterday. Very good. We've gotten over it in Ireland that it's moved over.
That's great.
Took a while. The question of how we deal with digitalization and artificial intelligence is the subject of a lot of discussion, and I know you personally are very interested in this topic. How do we deal with these challenges?
Definitely, Dana. And I was yesterday in Lisbon at the Web Summit, and I was looking at all that energy, creative energy, a lot of them based on artificial intelligence, cutting-edge technology. In new computers, I saw that huge quantic computer, and the point is, when or where are we going to stop and to regulate? Because we know right now that technology allows us to go any further and further in some areas. For example, the driven, automatic-driven vehicles. But then we have to take care of legal issues, and legal issues normally need an ethical base to be resolved, properly resolved. What can we do in that area at an European level? I think work a lot and debate a lot and discuss. For example, when we think about healthcare, and we know that diagnoses made by artificial intelligence and even proposals for medicines and cure to be taken might be done totally automatically by computers. But is that what we really want, or do we want to have a human word or decision somewhere in this process? That is the difficult question we need to answer, when and where. And obviously, it's better if you can anticipate it. It is difficult because normally only after the problems we start looking at the solutions. But I think there are some areas where we can discuss, debate, and anticipate these solutions and help to boost technology and more progress. Another issue I think has to do with the way we work. And in that area, I always look at the positive side. That is, it's great to work at home, at distance. and not to be obliged to go to a place from 9 to 5. That's very good to combine and to conciliate with personal and family life.
Absolutely.
But then you need to guarantee that there's some regulation. Otherwise, you'll be all the time connected and delivering work, extra hour, and so on.
Okay.
So regulation with an ethic basis, I think it's pretty much needed.
Super. We've only time for 2 very quick little questions. We have to keep on time. A big program. The middle classes. We're the party of the middle classes, Kyriakos, and many of them are feeling squeezed. What can we do about this? How can we give people back hope in the future? That we can continue to support the middle classes of Europe collectively, and I suppose specifically in Greece.
Well, I can tell you the middle class in Greece feels squeezed for very good reasons. It has been overtaxed by a leftist government that is using the proceeds to support the state that is much bigger than what it actually needs to be. But at a broader level, I think that the real challenges related to the state of the middle class are also related to the challenges of the job market that we previously described. It is important for us as a European Union to make a case that you need to think differently about lifelong training and education. You will probably not stay in the same job for life, and in order to adapt to a changing working environment, you need to retrain, you need to go back to school, back to university, you need to have access to short programs that actually provide you with additional skills. It is a difficult nut to crack. The European Union has a significant role to play in providing both funds, expertise, and sharing best practices. But at the end of the day, the future of the middle class is inextricably tied to the state of the economy and the way new jobs will replace the significant number of old jobs that will be destroyed by the technological revolution. We cannot stick our head in the sand. It is happening. It's going to happen at a much quicker pace. It needs to be addressed. It cannot just be regulated. But we need to embrace this new wave of change and make sure that our middle classes think in a different way than they think up to now.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've had 3 excellent panelists, 3 key party leaders who are delivering for their own people in their own countries and for our political family. I would like you to sincerely thank Benoit Asunsao and Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Thank you for your attention. Enjoy the rest of the Congress. Super.